Hello!
And tonight we are doing Sisu. Sisu is a new film in theaters now, and it is, well, what did you guys hear about Sisu? Did you guys know anything about Sisu?
Yes, I actually saw that it was coming out. I think I saw it when I was looking through IMDb for some stuff, and I saw that it was coming out, and I read the synopsis, and I was like, this sounds interesting. I didn't realize at the time it was a Guy Ritchie film, though.
This is not a Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah.
This is not a Guy Ritchie film.
Sorry.
That is our next
I'm
episode.
sorry. Never mind.
So you have not heard of Sisu? I'm going to cut all this out. That's terrible.
I did.
And Nicole, no?
I saw a couple of previews for it, but honestly, I'd never paid attention to what it was about. So I guess I could say no, I don't know. Didn't know. Do now know.
I had seen the trailer. I was pretty excited for it. It looked like up my alley, and it was getting good reviews. And so I was mildly excited for Sisu. And this is what it's about. During the last days of World War II, a solitary prospector crosses paths with Nazis on a scorched earth retreat in northern Finland. When the soldiers decide to steal his gold, they quickly discover they just tangled with no ordinary miner. This has got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 88 audience score, 7.4 on IMDb, and 68 Metacritic. So upper middle to high is pretty solid ratings across the board. So if you haven't seen Sisu, it is in theaters, and I think that's probably it. I didn't look up further if it was other places, but and it's only 90 minutes, which was part of the selling point to Nicole, because we actually all saw this together, which is rare. And we were deciding. And
that is the appeal. I mean, so many movies now are like 2.5, 3 hours long. It's like, okay, can somebody tell a story in a succinct manner?
I'm okay with long movies as long as they earn their runtime. Like, I liked, what did we do recently? John Wick 4, obviously. Avatar: Way of Water was good, and that was 3 hours long. Like, there's some good long movies.
Yeah.
But 90 minutes is preferred. All right, we're going to spoil it here now. So Sisu is broken up into, I believe it's 5 chapters, and it's kind of, looks, the fonts that they use to, like, describe the chapters is, like, it's like Django Unchained, old Western style. It's that big yellow blocky letters. You can hear the kind of old Western-y whip sounds when they do stuff like that. And this guy, his name is weird, so we'll call him Sisu, because come on, it's Sisu. Sisu Man is mining gold, and he's not doing very well, and then he strikes the mother lode. That's how we meet him. He finds this giant, enormous nugget, breaks it up, and now he's got gold. This is happening, of course, in 1944 when the war is ending and there are Nazis all over the place. But they've pretty much lost, so they're like kind of like lame-o, discouraged Nazis who still have enough power to like fuck up people, but like they're not fighting for anything really anymore because they're not gonna win. So they're disheveled, they're picking fights, burning stuff down, just being sore losers, basically. And they are going to rob this man of his gold. But little do they know that he is the biggest ass kicker of all time. He was in some other war where he killed like every Russian ever. And so now...
The Winter War
where he killed like 300 Russians or something. And so for the remaining, I guess, 70-ish minutes, we watch this old dude kill Nazis in a myriad of fashion. So that is what's going on in Sisu. Mama K, what do you think of Sisu?
It's kind of funny that I'm actually laughing, but I laughed during a lot of this movie, even though it's hyper violent.
Very funny.
It is very funny, and I don't know that you would expect me to find this funny, because it really is gory.
No.
There are the things you don't like in it: animal harm and lighting people on fire.
Yes, all the things that I don't like about a movie there, and I didn't particularly watch those parts as much as the other parts, but also I guess maybe I just like seeing Nazis get their ass kicked. I don't know. I couldn't stop thinking about just calling him Pete the Old Prospector the whole time, pretty much. And when you say he found a nugget, that's misleading if people haven't seen this film yet, because it is a giant fucking slab of gold.
He
It's
finds
like,
the largest gold brick I have ever seen. Like it's absurdly large. Yes.
it's absurdly large, and it fits. He's got to have 2 of those giant saddlebags on his horse that are just full of these big ass. He must break it down into these sort of
The chunks.
bowling ball size nuggets. Yeah, it's a Finnish movie, so the landscape is really remote and desolate, and everything about this movie screams ugh, but I laughed more than I should have.
I don't know if this was a comedy per se, but Nicole,
It's not a comedy.
Your reviews, I laughed multiple times. Nicole.
I don't recall laughing at all.
I think we might have kind of gasped.
Maybe in disbelief.
Yeah, like a nervous
Maybe
laughter.
Come on.
Yeah. Actually quite
The
shocked to
leg?
hear you say that.
The leg
think
was a chuckle.
I feel like I was just more
leg.
disturbed than anything. Quite disturbing, some of the scenery in this. I didn't know what to expect about it. I didn't know what the story was gonna go through. I heard briefly when Brennan was talking about it that it was about someone who finds gold and encounters Nazis, but I guess that's pretty much what everybody knew before going in. So it's a surprise to hear how decorated this gentleman was. I was not expecting some of the things I saw in here. There's a lot of surprises. A lot of blood. And a lot of mutilation. And, it's usually not my jam. I think we've said that literally every time we've seen those 3 things.
Agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that me and Mama K probably looked away the exact same times through this. Yeah. Some of it was a little too grotesque for me, and I couldn't watch it. I saw Brennan look away at one point too.
There's a few. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I need to know when that was.
Yeah.
I don't have a fire or an animal thing, but I have a different thing.
Okay.
But all of that is to say that I actually really enjoyed the story and was really feeling the excitement of seeing the bad guy lose.
Yeah.
I really was into that. So, knowing it was going to be nice and short, I always like it. I'm clapping. Yay. If there was fucking 45 more minutes of stuff that didn't matter, I would have been pissed.
Yeah.
So, I think it was good for the length and the content.
Oh, it's good. Again, these are not a movie either of you would not a either of you kind of movie to review. I wouldn't think, but this pretty much hit all my expectations. Maybe beat them a little bit. I had pretty high expectations because I was getting this thing hyped up a lot to people in my movie circles. The director, Jalmari Helander, I don't know. Well, maybe. He directed Rare Exports, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies, which is a very strange horror movie where there's naked Santa elves and Santa's like a demon in a shed. But it's also filmed it's a similar filming style, and it's very clean and crisp looking. The everything in it looks really good, real beautiful. The landscape shots as well as the actual action pieces. And there are some action pieces in here that there's one in particular it's still sticking with me. I think I've thought about it every day since we watched this a couple days ago. It's the I guess we'll do it now. It's the at one point in the middle there's he's crossing a river. And or not even crossing a river. The Nazis have caught up to him in the middle, and there's a river. The dogs are getting sicked on him, and the number of moves he does is out of this world. He lights himself on fire to get the dogs away from him, because he was covered in gas from dragging behind the trucks that he was already he was already doing crazy stuff. But then after he's already on fire and the dogs stop, oh shit, I'm not gonna fuck with that. He runs into the water. and then he stays under the water for like an insane amount of time, and then I don't know how this works in the real world, but but when a couple of the Nazis get in a boat and they go into the water to try to fish him out, he systematically one by one pulls them into the water. Or they get in the water and then he pulls them under. And then you just see clouds of blood come to this, like bubbling, and clouds of blood come to the surface. And you look underwater, and he's using these people as air tanks. He's like cutting their throat and sucking the oxygen out through the hole in their neck. It's glorious. Ooh. That was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's definitely unique.
There's things like that in this movie. Like, that one sticks out to me so much. Like, there's all kinds of other ones. I'll let you guys talk about some of the other ones. But, like, that one sticks out to me.
What is the one you turned away from?
Do you remember it, Nicole?
Yeah. It's when why do I get to say it?
Yeah, you said it. Well, I would see if we agree.
See if it's the right one.
Yeah, if it's the one that I'm thinking of. Maybe I turned away more than
once.
Well,
I think it is, considering we both looked at each other away from the screen at that point. I would assume it's the same one.
I don't remember. What was it?
It's when... I'm just going to call him Sisu.
His name's Sisu.
When Sisu is what we assume is finally caught and hanged on that sign, and he's slowly slipping down from the vibrations, and in order to keep him, I can't even say it, in order to keep himself up from strangling, he's got to hook himself on somehow, and that foot is not doing it. So let's use our open wound to fucking hold ourselves up onto that screw.
That is the one.
I know, because I looked at you and you were not looking.
I can't when he inserts. Oh God, I hate it.
Yeah, I didn't see that part either. I knew what was going on, but I certainly did not see it.
Yeah, he just, and they show it. They obviously it's a movie, it's fake, but like it looks very good because he puts his leg on he hooks his leg on the open wound on the nail, and between the sounds and the visual and that guy's acting, I was just, it was not good. I was just, I can't look at that stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically this guy and then all these people that he's just beating the crap of. And we do need to tell people this is an old dude. This is not like some young guy. This is a really old, grizzled, guy who's been through it all. His family was killed by the Russians, and then that's why he became this monster Russian killer during the Winter War. And, he's completely, he's got scars all over his body. He's a grizzled old dude, and yet he just keeps on, and he doesn't say a word until the very end of this movie. So everything,
man with no name,
all of his acting is acting. It's not, that's it. It's everything that he's doing, with the exception of the grunting noises that he has to make because life is so terrible for him.
Oh, a lot of grunting.
Yeah, a lot of grunting. I don't know. Maybe he whistles at the dog. I don't know. He's got that crazy dog friend of his
he screams when he finds the gold.
That's true. Yeah. Didn't you find that dog to be the least likely dog, though, that would be like surviving this whole? I mean,
it's just like a poodly kind of looking dog, like not like a groomed poodle, but it's that kind of hair. It's a what? It's a doodle. Okay. Yeah.
It's sort of doodly, but it also has eyes on the side of its head, so it's
like a hammerhead shark.
It's a hammerhead doodle.
It's a hammer. It's a hammer. They're really getting crazy with the crossbreeds.
Floundoodle.
Let's be clear. It's a real dog. It's not. It's not like
Floundoodle?
animatronics or something. It's not CGI dog, but it's just like the least likely dog that's gonna be out there surviving. It'd be like
It's a distinct looking dog. I think that was probably the part of the choice was like, it's not just generic yellow lab,
Right. Maybe that's some sort of Finnish dog that we just don't know about. I have no idea.
He has another pet, too, that does not make it.
He has another pet?
The dog is not his only animal companion, for at least in the beginning.
Well, the horse, right?
Did you expect the horse's fate?
No, and that was the worst part for me. The thing, him hanging himself on his own meat was kind of bad. But
Oh yeah, that for body cringe, that's the worst for me. Is when it's sticking in and out things. Yeah, stabby things. I don't like pulling glass and metal out of you. Like, that freaks me out. I don't like that.
Yeah, but that's
I
all
like to watch a
stuff
horse
that
get
you kind of see a lot. Well, but it was very visceral. So what happens at one point is that, the Nazis are basically going through and just ravaging everything they come across. And they laid this huge minefield, and now they have to, this guy, once they encounter him, they have to go back through their minefield. And so he's Pete, the old prospector, is going through the minefield and riding his horse, and kablooey, right? Yeah. And then we spend the next 5, 7, 8 minutes with the prospector and his horse in various, there's the crying about the horse, and then there's the using the horse as a shield kind of situation. And I was just like, I need to stop seeing this horse immediately.
He's very resourceful that way, with using objects that are no longer alive to help him stay alive.
Oh yeah, he is the what is it, the human flak jacket you called it when he got out of the river.
The human flak jacket, yeah. The Nazi human flak jacket. I like it.
I like I love the Nazi details in this one. Like lots of good. Number one, when we meet them, they are clearly disheveled. Like the captain or commander, whatever, the guy in charge. Like he's got his coat open. He looks dirty and nasty. Like he looks like he doesn't give a fuck. Like he looks like
he's just riding on top of the tank too. Like, go ahead, come
he's just
bro,
sitting on. Yeah, he's straddling the fucking cannon on the tank, and like
of course.
But it's I like the details that like they look like they've been out there for months, years maybe, and they look lost and they look defeated, and that's why they're being extra bullyish and just like fucking with people because they're sore losers kind of thing. And then also annoying thing, I imagine this is an annoying thing to you, Nicole, is like bad guys got bad aim. They always do. The bad guy in this, the sharpshooter, he actually has good aim, and he actually would kill a protagonist, like a regular protagonist, if Sisu weren't convincingly like good at getting out of situations. Like if the man knows how to use humans as oxygen tanks underwater, like he can do most anything. Like he's a formidable opponent, but like that sharpshooter guy, he doesn't miss. He just like Sisu blocks him or something. I like that. No. I like the portrayal of the Nazis.
Yeah, that is fair. It is better than other movies that let them go unscathed, but like at the same time, there's one scene, and before this, I just wanted to mention you were talking about the leg flap, how good the CGI was. I have to disagree. When he fell off of it, he had to take himself off of the nail. It looked like a silicone flab. I thought
I didn't see it.
I didn't look close enough because it was.
Yeah.
You're
in full cringe.
It didn't really quite look like skin, but I don't know.
Not what you would imagine it to look like anyway.
How could you even imagine what skin would look like at that point of that after that level of trauma?
I know. Yeah. But the scene where he gets out of the little river, and he's holding up the shot guy on his back. I mean, there's just no possible way that none of those, one, penetrated through that guy, or that his legs were not flapping in a different direction than where the bullet is, and didn't hit him in the back of the leg or the arm that's holding the body up. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I thought he got tagged.
Hit, and we don't realize it until later on when he's digging bullets out of himself.
Oh, yeah, true that.
He takes like pieces out of himself. Yeah.
All right, fine. I take it back then. Never mind.
He does get hit, but you don't know it. I mean, that's the thing, is like this guy is so friggin' tough that he's still just,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
going on.
It's a good little piece then, because I didn't realize that.
I will. I mean, when it comes to the realism, like there's. It's obviously taking it to comic book levels. I think the point where it's the most absurd is the ending, where he lands, in quotation, the plane. And,
yes.
survives the plane landing.
Oh my god. That was the most outlandish thing I've ever seen.
You have to suspend belief in this movie. I mean,
at that point, it's the end of the movie, and I've had a good time, so I'm with it.
Yeah.
Like it's like if up to that point I was not having a good time, then it'd be like an eye roll. But like because I was enjoying it up to that point, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It can have this big, fiery, absurd extra ending.
Yeah,
that's where I laughed again though, because that's great.
The way that it ended was like so perfectly executed. It was like, okay, this is fine. You know, it should have been a little more messy, but he just plopped him out of the plane and then the plane crashed. But it was starting to feel a little RRR-ish to me at the end.
As in not in the planet Earth. Like it's unrealistic in the action.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, for me, the blood bag, I don't know science, but I can't imagine I can't imagine you could use people as oxygen tanks by cutting their throat open. But maybe there's some science behind that. But
I don't know. You got 2 full lungs full of oxygen, so
that's what I'm thinking when I'm watching. I'm like, when he cuts his throat and like and then you see him go in with his mouth, like because again, this is all told very well visually. He doesn't talk. The Nazis don't really talk a lot. Like this is
not a lot.
Like the script is probably like 30 pages. Like this is a very like visually driven movie, and like it's not all about like the literal writing of the people, but like it tells its story well, where like you're not like confused or like everything is very clear and understanding. Like he goes in to get the oxygen, you don't think he's like, oh, why is he fucking putting his mouth on their neck? You would get it immediately, and it's so I've just never seen I've seen so many movies and so many things that when I see something that's like that, I'm like, I literally haven't seen that before. It's exciting.
Yeah. The thing about it too, though, is you like everything he does is so it happens so quickly. So all I can think of is the life he led before this was a lot of this same shit. Like,
yeah,
that's not the first time he sucked air out of some dude's lungs. Like, that's just not. And, flak jacket. Also, maybe he's also, come out of a plane without a parachute before. Who knows? I think anything's possible. This guy's superhuman. He's a prospector Jedi situation. The story is really simple, right? So it's all in the execution of what is happening in this movie. There's a piece that we never talked about, is that these Nazis have this little caravan, and there's this truckload of women that they have that are convenience women that they've taken from villages and things like that. And those girls get some pretty good payback in the end.
Yeah, that's good.
I like it.
I was going to ask you guys so you like that. I felt a little shoehorned a little bit for me, like the women and like I like that they fight. Maybe it just went too far for me, because like I like that they are used.
Oh, that's too far. Not the vaporization of the plane sans Sisu.
not what I mean by too far. In the wrong direction. So like there's the caravan of women, there's the one woman who's like a little braver and a little more outspoken than the rest of the women, and she gets a couple of scenes. And then like Sisu catches up to them and helps liberate them, and then they help like Sisu fight the remaining Nazis and get their revenge. But then like it gets to the point where they literally do like the 6 women with the guns slowly walking towards the one Nazi guy, and that's the first moment where it felt exceptionally derivative and like not where everything else felt like classic but original. That felt like ripped from something else and plugged in,
I see what you're saying, but I disagree with you with that's the first time that happened in that movie, because when he was earlier in the movie, when he was traveling underneath one of the trucks, very reminiscent of an Indiana Jones situation. When the horse got blown up and he was using something as a shield, that looked straight out of a Captain America movie. I think there were things.
Oh, he was using like
in this movie.
I'm not saying that was the only weakness. I just said that was up until that point. Maybe it's because of the guy, the actor. What's his name here? I just had it. Yorma Tamilia, who was also in Rare Exports, the other movie from this director. I think because he sells me so much, and the whole movie is him, and then it's just a couple of Nazis who just have to, be competent. competent actors, not competent Nazis. That I kind of like I'm kind of just with the movie, but once we have the women, it's like we have a whole nother group of characters we haven't spent time with, and like that woman's speech in the second, in the I guess intro of the third act. I'm just like, I don't know you. I don't know what we like. I don't know. Like this, like it was just this one guy against the world, and now it's the captors helping. Like I get that that's helpful and for the story writing, and like I don't know. It just it felt slightly not with the tone of everything else.
Do you feel like that means maybe if this is successful, that there's some sort of prequel to see how they were captured and him fighting the Russians or something?
This would have to make a lot of money. I mean, this director's only made 3 movies, and they're all pretty standalone, different things. But you know, if you throw enough money at anybody, they'll probably do it. What's this made so far? It's made like what can I find? 6.3 mil on a budget of 6 mil euros. So that's
cheap.
Yeah, it's a cheap. I mean, it's a 90-minute. Think about like when you're looking at the movie too. Like you've got 5 actual actors who have lines or significant screen time. Then you got a bunch of extras. You're filming landscape, so like not hard to film landscape. It's one of the cheaper things to do. And then as far as like things that happen in the movie, like you got 3 or 4 vehicles, and then the plane. You don't have a ton of vehicle work. You're only on the water for a little bit, and that's expensive. But other than that, it's just getting good effects right. I think they use their money well, but
explosions.
It is, yeah. I think they use their money well, though. Like it doesn't look maybe the skin flappy part. It doesn't look cheap. 6 million euros, which is about $6 million currently. That's cheap.
Yeah.
This looks really good for 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see where they would the storyline. I mean, it's World War II, and if we're this far removed from that period of time and still making movies about it, it's
we're gonna make movies about this forever. Also, because Nazis are the best, like, terrible. They're just the easiest target. Like, there's nothing redeeming about them. Very few people will defend them. They can be mustache-twirling villains, whereas not every other, but, like, your number of old-school villains has dwindled because of, more diversity in villains kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe we follow these women afterwards and find out that they go through and, I don't know. Because these Nazis can't be the only band of Nazis that's like rummaging their way through war-torn Europe at this point. I mean, this is Finland where, it's not a big population anyway, but they've gone through and scorched earth the whole place. So, I mean.
That was another part where I liked it. It's like a slice. Like everyone's seen a World War II movie. Everyone has seen Nazi movie, but like this is a very specific slice. I haven't seen Nazi, and it's very specific. Like the Nazis are at the like they're declining, and like so they're all like they reminded me of like when like high school guys like their team loses like the state championship or something, and then the next week they just get drunk and break shit, and they're just being you fucking ref bad call. Like that's literally like what these guys are doing. Like they're just shooting random shit. They shoot at the dog not because they want to kill the dog, because they're assholes, because they want to fucking scare a thing. They're just bullies who have lost, and so they're scorch earth, like you said. They're just taking out their frustration on the little guy.
And in this guy, they take it to the human level of I don't really care about any of this anymore. I just want to go for the gold because there's nothing left waiting for me anywhere. I'm pretty sure the head Nazi guy even said that. It's like there's nothing left waiting for us anywhere. We've got to go for this gold because we're going to be killed when we get back.
I like
to
that
wherever
too.
It is that we're going to be landing.
Yeah, exactly. The main Nazi guy, he's still a piece of shit. Like, he's still an asshole. You could see why that guy was a Nazi, but, he's not dedicated to the cause anymore. He's now in it for himself, getting out of there. He kills the one. There's, kind of a couple of main Nazis. There's the main guy, there's the gunner guy, and then there's the tank driver. And then after that, it kind of falls off. But, there's a couple of main ones. But it feels fleshed out, lived in. And again, with very little dialogue, it's hard to make everything feel this convincing without talking. It's a really underestimated skill to make a movie interesting and engaging and no one talks really. That's hard.
Right. Yeah, you're showing everything.
Exactly, and again, $6 million. They didn't have all the money in the world. They used it. They used it well, and they didn't make their movie too long. They kept it at the 90. If we're wrapping up towards the end here, I mean, Sisu is victorious. He kills many Nazis with the women's help. The women capture that one dude. I think it was the sharpshooter guy. Is that right?
The sharpshooter, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then and Sisu, he takes the plane, he beats up the main Nazi. A nice kill there where he straps it, he handcuffs him to the bomb and just drops the bomb out of the plane. What a great final kill.
Yeah, and the guy's yelling as he's going down with it. He's like, "Fuck
he's
you,"
like flipping him
and
off.
he's giving him the finger and everything. I'm like, okay, he's an asshole to the very end.
Yeah. And then Sisu reveals he is in fact immortal, as has been joked about in this movie, like by the characters, and like, he can't die, or like he's not immortal, he just refuses to die. So I think that was the line.
Yeah, it's kind of corny when you think about it, but it works.
It is because the movie, and it's with that yellow blocky lettering too. It feels older, like it feels like a throwback, but like everyone's taking it seriously. And maybe that's another reason why like the women part marching at the end didn't work for me. Is like that felt a little too like wink wink silly, whereas everything else is, even though it's over the top, even though the legs flying, and like I know you chuckled at that, like it's played straight. Sisu does not crack a smile. Like this is played 100% straight.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sisu crashes the plane, but he survives. And then he goes to the bank with all his gold, and he wants large bills, because it'll be easier to carry than all this gold.
And he somehow finds the dog again, which I don't understand at all.
And his motorcycle. His dog, his motorcycle, everything. Sisu wins.
The dog running with a piece of dynamite on him. I mean, that's funny.
God.
I was legitimately worried about the dog the whole until he took the dynamite
I was
off.
too.
Until he took the dynamite off and threw it, then I was like, okay, they gave the dog scare, and now the dog's probably fine. But when they blew up the horse, like brutally blew up the horse, they showed like its insides and viscera and everything. It's visceral and viscera. Like it's I was like, oh, everything's on the table now. They're blowing up horses. So, but dog is safe.
Yeah.
Do you have any more points on Sisu before we wrap up? Nicole Mama K?
Just shocked that I liked it as much as I did.
I guess that'll lead us right into if we recommend Sisu or not. Mama K, continue.
I do. I'm not sure that I know very many people who would want to see this movie, but it's a really good film. It's a tight story. It's told really well, and it's just, how do you get a new perspective on World War II Nazis? Well, they did, and I loved it.
Nicole?
I really enjoyed this as well. I'm surprised that I did too, because it's a different story. It's not what I have seen before, and I like that they did such a great job on it, knowing that it was such a lower budget. I mean, when you explain it, that makes sense, but I just feel like they did so much in a short time, and it, for 90% of it, didn't feel fake or weird. So that's very impressive. Interesting story, and I liked all the characters.
Yeah, this is it's going to be 3 recommends then. We pointed out some flaws or some grievances, but as a whole, it sounds like we all very much enjoyed Sisu. So 3 recommends, dark horse candidate for movie of the year at the end. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
It only takes a couple votes, and I guess we'll do the stress test when 3 of us recommend something and the 4th member isn't on. So in this case, Jess. Would Jess be able to appreciate anything about Sisu, or is she not gonna care about it?
Probably not.
Yeah, not a Jess movie.
It's not a movie for either of you though, and you both liked it, but I don't know.
That's true.
Jess likes good-looking things. This is a good-looking movie. It doesn't look old or cheap, but it's just gore. And
Jess likes good-looking things.
She does. She likes good-looking things. She wants to see the pores on people's noses on the fucking screen. So All right, 3 recommends
Maybe
for Sisu. We're gonna stick with the new movies as much as we can, as much as there is new stuff. And if you have specific movie, because of the way the show is and this like the amount of stuff that comes out, like we can't do. We used to be able to. I feel like we used to be able to cover every movie that came out, and now it's just there's just too much stuff. So we have to narrow it down to our interests and things that we think will be interesting to say. But if you have recommendations for us, especially if they're new. Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook is where you do that, or you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost, or you can email the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. All right, thank you, Mama K and Nicole, for being on Sisu.
Yeah.
Bye, bye, bye.
Interesting choice. It is May. Till next time, this is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.